In what was intended to be a simple sparring session, Terence Crawford and Floyd Mayweather recently shared the ring. Crawford had requested Mayweather to replace him as a partner while he was heavily training for a possible bout with Canelo Alvarez. Mayweather, who has a 50-50-0 record and is renowned for his defensive prowess, didn't think twice about donning the gloves again. The practice that followed left everyone in the gym discussing Crawford's indisputable brilliance and the fact that even legend Mayweather is no longer unbeatable.
Crawford is his own breed, but I cannot put Crawford. Crawford is is his own category, and I would never put him in a box or category with Floyd because he's that different. And then Crawford has moments where he will go toe-to-toe with you versus Floyd would never do it.
In the opening exchanges, Floyd Mayweather relied on the same style that cemented his legacy as one of boxing's greatest. His footwork was precise, his head movement sharp, and his counters clean as ever. At 47 years old, Mayweather's ability to read his opponent was still remarkable, demonstrating the expertise that had made him a legend. However, Terence Crawford, an undefeated four-division world champion with 31 knockouts, wasn't intimidated by the presence of a living legend. As he stepped into the ring, Crawford showed no hesitation, confident in his ability to compete at the highest level. The sparring session began with both men feeling each other out. Mayweather's experience shone through as he used subtle angles to make Crawford miss by mere fractions, avoiding the heavier punches while staying out of danger. Crawford, ever the strategist, adjusted quickly, switching stances and altering his rhythm in search of openings. It quickly became clear that this wasn't a typical sparring session. Both fighters were testing their limits, and the tension in the room was palpable. Then, in the midst of an intense exchange, Crawford saw an opening. He launched a perfectly timed right hook that slipped past Mayweather's guard and landed cleanly on his chin. For a brief moment, Mayweather's legs buckled, and the crowd could see the effect of the punch. The reaction, though subtle, caught everyone's attention. Crawford didn't press the attack, understanding that this was sparring, but the moment was significant.
Going for 51-0, beat Mayweather's record with 50-0. Is that something that you thought about?
I already said I was never gonna beat Mayweather record. That's not something that I wanted to do.
Okay.
Mayweather regained his composure and continued as if nothing had happened. But those watching couldn't help but feel the weight of what had just unfolded. It was rare to see Mayweather, the master of defense, get touched in such a way, especially at this stage of his career. Crawford's trainer, Brian McIntyre, later reflected on the session with pride, saying, "That's what makes Terence special. He has that hunger, that edge. Even in sparring, he finds a way to impose himself. That's what separates good fighters from great ones." With his best years behind him, Mayweather, ever the professional, took the shot in stride. He continues to be unrivaled in his understanding of the sport and his flexibility in the ring. Entering the ring with Crawford was about maintaining ties to the sport he had controlled for so long. Not about
stuff about me going up and having a tough time, but he went up in weight and lost. That's the difference. I went up weight and won. He went up and lost. You know, so let's not do that.
Proving anything to anyone. With Crawford now a 4D division champion and one of only 3 men in the World era to become an undisputed 2-weight champion, his performance during the session added yet another level of comparison between the two fighters. His name is increasingly being mentioned alongside Mayweather's sparring with Floyd, even as he approaches 50-50, which presents Crawford with another chance to test himself against one of the sport's all-time greats.
Eso. Venga. 5, venga. 1, 2, 3, 4. Eso.
Terence Crawford has always thrived on challenges, dominating opponents, and stepping up to higher divisions to prove his greatness. The sparring session with Floyd Mayweather only reinforced his belief as one of the most complete fighters of his era. Crawford's skills were on full display, and landing a shot on Mayweather, defensive genius that he is, even if just briefly, showed how far Crawford has come. Mayweather's legacy remains intact. In his prime, he was untouchable, defeating top fighters like Canelo Alvarez and Manny Pacquiao with ease. While his reflexes may have slowed, His influence on the sport and status as one of the greatest fighters in history are undeniable. For Crawford, sparring with Mayweather was not only an opportunity to learn from a master, but also to make a statement about his place among boxing's elite. It was a moment that solidified his status as a top-tier fighter.
Stuff about me going up and having a tough time, but he went up in weight and lost. That's the difference. I went up weight and won. He went up and lost. You know, so let's not do that.
The meeting concluded with both parties showing respect for one another, the composed manner of Mayweather and his readiness to share the ring. With Crawford talked a lot about how confident he was despite becoming older. Crawford, however, left feeling more driven than before. He is aware of the difficulties that lie ahead, particularly in light of the discussions of advancing to meet Canelo Alvarez at times like this. Describe professions for Crawford, it was more than simply landing that right hook. It was about entering the ring beside a legend and demonstrating that he was on par with Mayweather. It's about proving that despite the passage of time, his reputation as one of boxing's best thinkers endures.
You know, being that you're obviously, again, a pillar in Team Crawford, can you confirm? Are we going to see that fight? Has it been made official? Is it official?
It's on, baby. September 13, baby. Look forward to it. Crawford versus Canelo. Listen how I said it.
Are we getting this confirmation here first?
You understand? Yeah, it's confirmed. Man, what?
Say less.
Crawford versus Canelo, not the other way around.
Even if the source of the speculations of a possible 2025 bout between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez has not been confirmed, boxing enthusiasts have been discussing it ever since. Although it hasn't been proven, the concept has already swept the sport. While Canelo Alvarez continues to dominate as the face of boxing, commanding attention every time he enters the ring, Crawford is coming off an incredible career-defining victory against Errol Spence Jr. and is at the top of his game. The bout is still only purely speculative, but it is already dividing fans and igniting heated debates among boxing insiders.
Crawford, I see he wants to fight. He's made it clear. Do fights like that help your legacy, or do you feel like that's something that's not worth it to you?
Everything in my career, every fight make my legacy different and better. No, Terence Crawford is a great fighter. He's a good fighter, but you know, like I say, he's weight classes for a reason. I'm focused on
Showbiz, the adult, is one of the most vocal participants in the discussion. He quickly disparaged Crawford's prospects by drawing comparisons to Floyd Mayweather, who is credited with outclassing Canelo in 2013, according to Showbiz and many others. When it comes to defense, Crawford is just not as good as Mayweather. Remember what Floyd did to Canelo, together with wiring and the capacity for adaptation on the fly. According to Showbiz, that was a masterclass, and not simply a win-win. Although some fans contend that Showbiz is undervaluing Crawford's ability, particularly after Crawford outwitted Floyd in a sparring session, Crawford doesn't have that sort of fight in his life.
The only thing I see that I favor Canelo is that, you know, is his weight. Yeah. And that he's more bigger. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing. But as far as skill set wise, IQ, I feel like Crawford can match anybody and probably do way better. You know what I'm saying? But you know, Crawford is a legend, bro.
According to sources, Crawford defeated the undefeated legend. If this is accurate, it would be a huge boost to Crawford's resume, especially in light of Mayweather's defensive prowess. Yes, it was only sparring, and the specifics are yet unknown. Although the entertainment industry claims that Crawford is not Mayweather, he did teach Floyd how to spar. What does that indicate to you? Lonian made a post on Twitter. Crawford is the genuine deal, and Canelo should keep an eye on him. Even if sparring isn't the same as a real bout, it's difficult to overlook how much credibility Crawford gains from this.
Like, no, that's 2 more weight classes. Like, once he gets touched by Canelo, it's going to be different.
I am concerned about him absorbing a Canelo punch, especially through the course of 12 rounds. We do know this about Canelo. He's going to slow down, you know. So I think, if anything, Canelo would try to start fast and bang on him and break him down before he gets later. And
if Terence Crawford can outthink and outmaneuver someone like Floyd Mayweather, it's easy to believe he might have the tools to trouble Canelo Alvarez as well. However, Showbiz doubled down on his criticisms, reminding fans that sparring isn't always the best indicator of how a fighter will perform when it matters most. Look, sparring is controlled, he said. It's not 12 rounds with millions watching, with belts and legacies on the line. While Crawford may have had a strong showing in the gym, it doesn't guarantee he can handle Canelo's power at 168 lbs, where Canelo has dominated for years. This brings up a controversial point. Many fans feel Crawford's jump in weight to face Canelo is unrealistic and potentially dangerous. Canelo has spent years conquering the middleweight and super middleweight divisions, battling naturally larger men and showing immense power. His strength at these higher weight classes is well documented, with many of his opponents unable to cope with his size and punch. Meanwhile, Crawford has only recently moved up to junior welterweight and hasn't truly tested himself against the elite fighters in those higher divisions. Critics argue that Crawford's greatest assets, his speed and sharpness, could be diminished by the added weight. You can't just bulk up and expect your skills to stay the same, Showbiz added, emphasizing that Crawford would be stepping into the lion's den against Canelo, the undisputed king of that jungle.
Canelo ain't gonna come down to 160. Yeah, Canelo ain't gonna come down, maybe 166 max if he accepts. I think Canelo wins that fight based on just the size, power and size. Now, skill-wise, I think Crawford's a better skilled fighter.